Welcome to the February edition of the Hornet Spotlight, and we are here today with the Renaissance Selection as the Alumnus of the Month, and we have a gentleman from the class of 2001, and he is Jagga. Jagga, I think we talked about, is the third member of your class to be selected.
Yes.
We are very happy. Great class, in spite of the fact we've named a couple of lumps before. We won't mention them on air. There's some dark marks there, but this is not one of them. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
On your selection. It's good to have you here. 2001 was quite a while ago.
Yes.
In terms of, especially in your life, it's half your life practically.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about Beech Grove in 2001. You're one of the few that I've interviewed that was here when I was here, so We're finally getting, I guess I've been around too long too, but tell us a little bit about some of the things you enjoyed at Beech Grove. Tell us a little bit, I remember your background a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about that and how you got here, because I know it wasn't the traditional route.
That's right. It wasn't a straight shot. First of all, I appreciate being here and the opportunity to come and see the school and see you again. It's good to see you, looking timeless as always. But yes, my path to Beech Grove wasn't conventional by any means. I moved here my freshman year in high school and begged my parents to stay at my home school that I started my high school career with. My brother and sister actually started the year prior to me because I was so good at convincing my parents to let me stay. And I had it all worked out with transportation, how I was going to make it work. But after that first year, their wisdom overruled mine, and they got me to come to the high school my sophomore year. And when I got here, I was the only African-American student in the building, and I graduated as the only African-American student in the building and of course, in my class. But it was a very different time here at Beech Grove, as I imagine. And one thing I do remember is just all the good relationships with adults that I had, like people like yourself, Mr. Ancelet, who's still here, who I love dearly and still keep in touch with. Great teachers and really helped build a foundation for my life and my career.
You mentioned Mr. Ancelet. I think there probably was a little bit of extracurricular activity that made it a little easier to transition. Talk to us a little bit about your athletics while you were here.
Sure. I played basketball my sophomore year. I started varsity for a little while when I got here. I played a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, dabbled in a lot of things while I was here at Beech Grove. But having basketball to help start my time here at Beech Grove was very helpful. Playing under Mr. Mills, who's here as well, and it helped me to acclimate myself to the school.
Some of us never go away.
That's right.
Graduated in 01, as we mentioned. At that point in time, when you graduated, did you have a career path in mind, or were you just going to go to college and see what happened, or what was the deal at that point?
I was dead set on being a teacher, and I did our cadet teaching program with Miss Balka, and who's still here, absolutely. And I knew that I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to coach basketball, and I wanted to be in this field. And this school gave me a really good grasp on what I wanted to do with my life.
So, graduated, heading for education. Where did you do your graduate work?
Ball State University is where I graduated from. And I tell people a lot of times, a lot of people went to Ball State, but not many people graduated from Ball State. And I was able and fortunate enough to graduate from Ball State with my undergrad and master's degree, which just catapulted me into this field of education. A great teachers college there, Ball State, and known across the world for its programming. But things moved really fast. My senior year there, I was student teaching in Anderson, and I was coaching basketball in Indianapolis. So I would start my day in Muncie very early in the morning, move to Anderson for my student teaching, come to Indianapolis for coaching, and do that trip every single day for about 4 months my senior year of college.
You have to have two things. You have to have a lot of dedication and a good motor vehicle.
That's right. I don't know about the second part of that, but I did have some dedication.
Now, were you living in Muncie or living in Indy, or where were you living at that time?
I was living in Muncie.
So you started in Muncie, to Anderson, to Indy, back to Muncie every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 4 months.
Not many college seniors doing that.
There's not, and a lot of my friends will remind me of that on Thursday and Friday nights. that I was uncommon. I think though, Mr. Clevenger, that helped me get my first job. The principal at the school that I was coaching noticed that insane regimen and really took a liking to me over the time that I was there. And she said, you know, the day you graduate, I'm going to get you in this building. And that's what happened.
And we're always looking for dedication. I mean, that clearly demonstrates a love for what you wanted to do. And you're probably like me and 100 other guys who are teaching, or thousands in Indiana anyway. We're going to coach the state champion. That's the goal. That was my goal 20 years, 30 years ago, and came up a little short, but it's still a good life. Tell us a little bit about your teaching and how you've evolved into what you're doing now.
Sure. So when I graduated from Ball State, I went on to teach at Arlington High School. I took over as a permanent sub. My program was business education, but the only thing that had open was biology. So I remember late nights studying cells and meiosis and cell division and cell parts. But, you know, like you said, it was just a love for kids and a love for teaching that drove me to being successful. Was able to spend an entire semester there as a biology teacher. And I got my first real job in the fall at Indianapolis Metropolitan High School. That was a charter school here in Indianapolis that was fairly new. Back in 2006, charter schools were really coming on the scene here in the city. So I had a great opportunity to start there as a real teacher, but it was still unconventional. We were different.
Talk a little bit about the differences. You're now in a public school. We haven't got to that yet, but you're in a public school. You've been in a charter sector. Tell us a little bit about those differences.
Sure. So charter schools typically are smaller. They're built on a premise of relationships with kids and really trying to build strong relationships with students and families. This particular charter school really was about relationships, so much so that I had my kids for about 80% of the day, all day, and I was responsible for about 90% of their curriculum. Whereas a traditional school, you know, kids go from class to class and they have sometimes 7 different teachers.
Right.
My students had me and a specialist in math, but that was it all day. So I had to learn again on the fly, not just sciences, but English and math and social studies.
Did you get teaching business?
Not immediately. You know, it was weird. I didn't get to teach about business classes until about my 3rd year at that school.
Now, what was some of the differences in teacher assessment at the charter school?
Right. So we created a lot of our curriculum in terms of how we were evaluated. There wasn't a standard. A lot of things were done on the fly, and we were assessed differently almost every day, every month, just depending on how the wind blew. But teacher assessments were something that's a lot different here, where there's a set evaluation tool and things like that. The charter schools, because we had such a different approach, also evaluated teachers differently.
Yeah, and they were kind of feeling their way too. As you mentioned, it was just starting up.
Sure.
You stayed there for how long?
I was there for 6 years.
6 years. I was going to say 5. I'm glad I corrected.
I was able to teach for 4 years, and then I got catapulted into some administration, not voluntarily, but you know, we moved into some school leadership there for my last 2 years.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be again, but that's when you get your state championship, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
I helped out our basketball team to win our state championship in the 1A division. Hadn't been done at a charter school ever. And what was interesting about that particular team, we didn't have a gym. We would practice sometimes at the park. We would practice many times at the local Indy Parks gym. We never had home games. Every game was an away game, and the group of kids there were great. Was able to help out a little bit from the periphery on that team as an administrator, but that was one of the best years of my entire life.
A lot of fun, huh?
A lot of fun.
You left there after 6 years to go to?
Another charter school called Monument Lighthouse Charter School. I was fortunate enough to get the principal principalship there. I served that community for 2 years before I took my most recent job at Hamilton Southeastern High School as the Dean of Students.
And that has got to be a huge difference.
A little bit, a little different.
Tell us about the good things going on at Hamilton Southeastern.
Wow, there's so many. It's a very, very thriving educational community there. Our demographic is changing a little bit, and while that community is still known for its affluency, we're starting to get a little bit more diverse in terms of socioeconomic status, and the kids are coming to us from a different place. So we're trying out some new things, and my past has helped me because we are doing some innovative work that the district is not so used to.
The Southeastern, you are the Dean of Students, is your title, right? What exactly are you responsible for as the Dean of Students?
Sure. Primarily, I'm in charge of discipline. So a lot of work that I do is with students who make poor choices and trying to get them to learn from those. But my principal understands that I have a lot of experience in different realms. So I help out with our PBIS program and our RTI program. I oversee our Black Student Union, which is a student group that we oversee. I also have a hand in our Blue Crew, our spirit team. So on Friday and Saturday nights,
So you're still coaching?
I'm still coaching kids on how to be good cheerleaders. So our student section is a good student section that we try to help lead and guide in that area. So I'm able to touch a lot of different things at my school, and our principal is forward thinking and helps us to think differently about how we help kids.
So you're presently the Dean of Students at Hamilton Southeastern. Big cultural change, but it sounds like you're handling it well. And you're probably going to be a lifer.
I love my job, and I love what I'm doing out there.
To be a lifer, you have to have a good support system.
That's right.
And you've got your support system over here. Talk to us a little bit about your family.
Yeah.
And brother and sister, you mentioned them earlier. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there, and we'll kind of wrap this thing up.
Sure. So without my support system and my family, there is no Jagga and Hall of Fame and Dean of Students. You know, it's very clear that they keep me going. My beautiful wife, Fanae here, she's also an educator, and it's nice to have that congruency with careers, with your spouse. I have 3 beautiful children, Jaylyn, who's 4, Journey, who's 2, and a brand new baby boy, 7 weeks old. His name is Jagga II.
Everything's looking good on that front. It's nice to have somebody at home that can relate to some of the things you have to deal with.
That's
that makes
right.
it a lot nicer.
That's right.
Tell us about brother and sis.
Yeah, so my brother and sister are doing well. Both have children as well. I'm very, very successful in their careers. My parents still live right here in Beech Grove, just a hop, skip, and a jump from the high school. Everybody's doing good, and you know, we spend a lot of time together, and they are the crux of my success as well.
Well, again, I think it gets back to that little triangle from Muncie to Anderson to Indy and back. To me, that speaks volume about somebody that really, you're going to be a lifer, you're going to be here forever. And it is personally a pleasure to recognize another Dean of Students. From my perspective, we don't get many Hall of Fame nods. So congratulations.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate
It's my pleasure to present you this on behalf of the Renaissance Committee. Again, great selection. We are very proud of Jagga, class of 2001, our February alumnus of the month. We're looking forward to a new person in March, but we could not have done any better than this. Next month's going to be a hard act to follow. So again, congratulations to Jagga and his family for his selection to the Beech Grove High School Alumni Hall of Fame.